Yes, the patchbay struggle. Well, when I was getting this thing, people told me, "Man, you're crazy." I know I'm not normal. Maybe I'm half normal, but to come true, I needed this thing, because I was tired of making connections on the back of all my gear and plug it in, plug it out, move around. I was tired of that shit. So I got this patchbay and it changed my life. Yes, it did. It made it more flexible, and the connections are already here. So in my previous video I told you about the connections from my MPC to the mixer to my sound card, my interface. So with that said, where is the patchbay coming? My patchbay is between the direct outputs of my mixer, because I only have direct outputs. So it's a direct outputs from a mixer that goes into the patchbay, and those are the first 8. And from there I made a connection. On the other side are the inputs of my interface. So 8 inputs of my interface from this thing. On this patchbay, this is Samsung. It has 24 channels, and as rule, to the upper rows as the outputs, and the under rows as the inputs. You have different settings for a patchbay. You have normal, you have half normal, and you got through. So what's that all about? Well, you got normal. That's when you have, for example, let's say the output of my mixer, let's say channel 1, is going into channel 1 into my interface to my DAW. So when I put it on normal with a switch on the front, it made internal the connection. So I don't need a cable to patch it from 1 to input 1. So it goes automatically. That's fine, because if I don't want to use my hardware gear, I always have the connection and I don't need to patch. You have also a setting like half normal. You still have the internal connection, but you can also go with an output, go to something else, to some hardware. That's cool, and you still have internal connection. You can interrupt it by put a cable in here, but I don't see the use for now in my setting. And you also have the function true. That's just something coming out and something coming in. It's just like the input and the output, but instead of having it here on the back of the things, it's here on the back at the front of the patchbay. So my settings are from the output of my mixer to my interface. All the 8 input channels, they are normal, so they all have straight inward connections. But for my gear, that's another thing. Those are just in true. Let me see for real. Yeah, true. So I use them as inputs and outputs. So all my gear, so like the U-Week or the LA4 or my 500 series gear, they are all connected on the back side of this patchbay. So I have the inputs of my gear. Let's say this compressor from Sound Sculptor. Let's say I do the inputs over here on the underside, and the outputs of the compressor are connected to this stereo compressor. So if I want to make a connection, let's say I have a snare and I want to compress it. So I have my snare on my mixer on channel 2. Let's say I go out my mixer, channel 2, let's go into the bus compressor, and from the bus compressor out I go into my interface. Then you have the connection, so you can patch immediately and see what it does to the sound. And if you don't like what this compressor is doing, I can choose another compressor with another sound, with another color, to see if it works. So if I don't like this compressor, I can go, well, I take this one and I plug it in and I hear what it does. So you can speed up the workflow, so you don't need to go behind and plug and do all those things. So it's all in the front, and that's how I use it. So let's see it in work. And always put some tape or stickers on top or under it or between it to label it, which is that's needed. So I have a beat on my MPC. The MPC outputs goes into the inputs of my mixer, and from my mixer 8 outputs I go into the patchbay, and from the patchbay that's routed with the normal, I go into my interface. I hope the beat's not too loud, but let's check it out. So let's say we have the snare, and let's put this thing on. Let's say I want a snare on the DBX. I go for 2 because my snare is on 2. So now you don't hear it. I interrupt the signal flow, and I go to the DBX. See, it's maybe too loud, but let's see. So we go into the DBX, out to the DBX, into my interface. There is the sound, and then you can use compression and shape it how you want. And if you think, well, maybe I want some EQ or something, well, then put on an EQ. So what I can do is I go out of the DBX, because we go from the mixer out into the DBX, and from the DBX out I go into my finalizer SPL, and we go out of the SPL. Let's put this out into the interface again, and then you can use active, let's say something like this or whatever. Well, then you can use it, and always use it when the rest of the tracks are on. So it's a little tiny. So that's how I use it for my routings. I hope it was clear, and I see how I use it. I will take some close-ups of the patchbay so you can see how it works. But basically, yeah, it's fun to do. So see you next time. If you have any questions about other gear, post it below, and I can make a video about it.